Time day today, dog. Offense, great drive.
Go, go!
He's up. 1, 2, 3.
Welcome to Training Camp Live, presented by Honda.
The New York Jets back on the practice field here on another beautiful day in Florham Park as Alan Lazard plays with a little bit of a soccer ball there. Different kind of football, and you never know who's going to be at training camp. Right there, METHOD man watching the JETS. And look, we're on set here. Ethan Greenberg, Eric Allen, Eric Coleman. EC, how you doing, man? Nice to see you.
I'm doing great. It's great to be here at training camp. The energy is just electric over here. I'm excited for the season and to chat with you guys about camp.
Yo, Meth brought the pipes out today. He's got the tank, but my man brought the guns out.
Wait, I can't hear because we have the headset on. Are they playing Method Man right now?
They are.
Okay.
Right as you kicked it off, they started playing Method Man.
Of course they are. They have to know who's in the building.
Man, he's in unbelievable shape. We talk about Aaron Rodgers all the time. He's going to be 40 in December. That dude is 52.
Coleman, that's impressive.
Oh, he looks great. I follow him on Instagram. He has a fitness page. He gets after it every day. Kudos to Method Man for
this is such a New York outfit, I feel like. I love it. Just the white tee or the white tank right here in the middle of summer. It's a beautiful day, by the way. It's almost like, dare I say, a little chilly?
Yeah.
It's not chilly. How about Jessica Cohn getting into shot there? Long-time Jets employee.
Look, when Method Man's in the building, you never know who's going to be around him. But we're happy to have Eric Coleman here. Obviously, Method Man, whoever visits camp, wants to see Aaron Rodgers. For you, Eric Coleman, when you take a look at Aaron Rodgers today for, the first time in training camp, what are you hoping to see from number 8 that maybe you haven't seen in the past?
I just want to see that relationship with the wide receivers. Obviously he's been a very successful quarterback, MVP, a Super Bowl champion. I want to see that leadership. I want to see how the receivers step up, the relationship between the quarterback and receiver, all that trust. That's going to be great to see out here on the practice field.
Mixed bag for Rodgers yesterday, but every time he's on the practice field, he makes 2 or 3 wow throws. And the other thing that he consistently does is that he makes the easy look easy. So he's always going to keep the offense on the move, on schedule. And another thing that I always talk to people about is you don't know the practice scripts. So sometimes team periods, E. Coleman, might be tilted in the way of the defense, correct?
Yeah, they may be. They may be in the favor of the defense, but when you got a guy like Aaron Rodgers back there, it doesn't really matter. He's seen everything been thrown at him.
Okay, you're talking about what he's seen. What have you seen when you played against Rodgers, when you're lining up in the safety position, because you're one of the few guys who can say, yeah, I'm lining up against Rodgers?
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough to prepare for Aaron Rodgers because, he doesn't get a lot of credit for his athleticism, but the way that he extends plays, he'll get outside of the pocket, and most quarterbacks, when they're outside of the pocket, they're looking for a short pass. Aaron is not afraid to let it loose, throw the deep pass on the run. He's one of the most accurate deep ball throwers that you've ever seen. And he does a great job manipulating defenses with his eyes. I remember playing in Atlanta in the playoffs, and we were watching him, and he threw a no-look pass right behind my ear for a first down, and it was just like, you just got to chalk it up. You can't even get mad because this guy is that great.
How challenging is it, or I don't even know if challenging is the right word. We've often heard people, including that guy right there, Robert Saleh, talking about walking up to the line of scrimmage, Aaron Rodgers looking at the picture and being like, you know what? I'm just going to change this on the spot. As a defender, how frustrating is that when you know that anything you do, this quarterback has seen it, he knows the holes, and he's going to exploit them?
Yeah, it's very tough because, as a defender, you want to throw a disguise out there. You want the quarterback to understand what defense is being played as he's dropping back while the defensive line is pursuing him. But with Aaron, he's seen everything. All he's looking for is one guy to show the tell, to give the tell, what kind of defense they're playing. Oh, they're playing cover 1. Let's check out of this, put us in an advantageous position, and continue with this drive.
Well, then how conservative do you have to be as a safety when you're playing against Rodgers, a guy who's seen everything that you're going to possibly throw at him, and he probably can even predict your disguises. So how conservative do you have to be in the defensive back?
It has to be a nice combination of conservative and aggressive.
Okay.
You have to be conservative, meaning you have to stay back because he can throw the ball over your head, he can launch it, and if he understands where you are and what you're playing, and your leverage, he's going to exploit it. But at the same time, if you continue to play back, if you continue to play too conservative, he's going to pick your defense apart because he's patient, he's that accurate, and that's why he's been so successful.
And Jeff Ulbrich, who we're looking at taking a knee right now, the defensive coordinator for the Jets, he talked about in the spring how he was going to sit down with Aaron Rodgers and basically be like, what did you see on this play when the Jets and Packers played last season when the Jets won and beat Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau Field? But I feel like, Coleman, this is going to sound very simple when I say it, but I feel like it's not. When you're going up against an opposing quarterback for 60 minutes, for Rodgers, it's really all 60 until the clock hits triple zeros because you can make one mistake and he'll exploit it. What's the biggest thing from a safety perspective that, say, and we'll hear about Tony Adams a little bit later, he's been impressive in camp. What do safeties need to do and corners need to do to make sure that they're on the same page for a full 60 minutes?
Well, communication has to be at the top. You have to be on the same page, and then you also have to check your own oil. You have to make sure that you're staying on script, you're playing the defense the way it's designed to be played, and that you don't, you don't slide away from it. Mm-hmm. Because in the game, it's easy to start leaning towards the numbers one play, start leaning towards the numbers, and then all of a sudden, Aaron saw that on the film in the first quarter, and when they need a big play in the fourth, he's coming right to you. So you have to make sure that you're constantly correcting yourself and staying with the fundamentals of the defense.
This is the team that drafted you. You live locally in New York. You experienced success here. What is your sense as far as the expectations locally for this team and how much positive vibes are going towards the green and white right now?
Yeah, I mean, the expectations locally, everyone wants to be in that final game. They want to play in the Super Bowl. And looking at the team over the last year or two, the defense has been great. You have the star power. You have Garrett Wilson on offense. You have Breece Hall running the football. You've got the guys on the offensive line. All you were missing was that leadership, that quarterback to bring you over the top. Now adding Aaron Rodgers to the fold, everyone here in New York is expecting greatness. They're expecting consistency, and we're really looking forward to having a winner.
Look, so that's Nathaniel Hackett, who obviously has coached Aaron Rodgers for a long time, including 2 MVP stints in Green Bay. The year before Hackett became the Broncos head coach. And I want to talk about the depth chart a little bit, specifically this guy's offense, Nathaniel Hackett, because Aaron Rodgers, no doubt about it, the quarterback one of the team. And before we actually talk about this, I just want to preface this by saying the depth chart is unofficial. So this is not directly from the coaches. This is not what you'll see on game day. The Jets play the Browns in a couple days in Canton, Ohio for the Hall of Fame game. We'll see who actually suits up. But in terms of the offensive line, Eric Coleman, it's been one of the biggest topics of camp. Dwayne Brown still remains on the physically unable to perform list. I feel like the Jets have a good sense of who the guards are, but at tackle, you have Billy Turner at left tackle on the depth chart, Max Mitchell at right tackle on the depth chart. When you hear that, what are your initial impressions?
Well, when you think about Billy Turner, he's a guy who's played in this offense. So immediately you think of a guy who you can trust, who understands the different pass protections. He's not going to make a lot of mistakes, and he's played at a high level through his career. Max Mitchell on the right side, a guy who was a rookie last year, part of that draft class, who was an up-and-comer. But when you look at the depth, you think about Mekhi Becton, the guy who was picked in the top 10 for the Jets. A tremendous talent, but he's coming off an injury. You have to give him time to get back comfortable with that knee, to get comfortable playing the speed of the game, picking up the terminology. So you give him some time. And on the right side, Dwayne Brown, a guy who's coming off an injury. You know that he's a veteran player who's played at the high level, who you can trust, who can get it done at the tackle. So I like the depth. I like having the depth at that tackle position because, as you can see with these guys being hurt, it's a very strenuous position, and the depth is going to be your friend.
I would echo those sentiments about Becton because right now it's small steps for an awfully large man. And Robert Saleh was very encouraged yesterday about the way he's been completing practices and competing. And these are positive steps for Becton, a guy who's essentially played a game over the past 2 years. And again, E and I and you, Greens, were talking about this before we came on the air. You're coming off in off season where you just had that knee operated on. So there's a lot of things you got to go through, not just physically, but mentally.
Absolutely. Mentally is the biggest hump. And it's one thing for the doctors to look at your injury and say you're cleared to go.
Yep.
And it's one thing to go out there and run and be on your own. But when it's time to trust your knee, when it's time to put that pressure, when it's time to guard to block a Quinnen Williams who's coming full speed at you and change direction, it's about trust. And that's why they're taking it slow with Mekhi. He's gonna need some time to get that trust. But once he's confident mentally, I think you'll see a great player at Mekhi Becton.
Here's something crazy to think about. Mekhi Becton, Thursday night, he'll play on a limited pitch count. That's going to be his first game since September of 2021. That was Zach Wilson's debut in Carolina. The other crazy part is that Mekhi Becton has not played a game in front of Jets fans because he was drafted in the COVID year. In 2021, he got hurt. Last year, he didn't play, so...
I thought he looked really good in one-on-ones yesterday.
Yeah, he did.
Myself and you were watching that, Greens. And then in team drills, he had his share of successes. The one guy who jumps off the page for us continually is Carl Lawson. He's tough for any tackle out here.
Yeah, Carl Lawson is just a freak of a human, and he said he was going to get double-digit sacks. He looks the part. We'll see, obviously, what happens. Going back to the depth chart, just a couple things that stand out. Speaking of the defensive line, next to Quinnen Williams in the depth chart is Al Woods, the big space eater, the free agent addition from the Seattle Seahawks. Obviously, the Jets play a rotation, so I would imagine you're not reading too much into the defensive line depth chart, right, EC?
No, I mean, the depth is your friend as a defensive line. You need to have that nice rotation to keep the guys fresh as you continue through a game. But one thing that I saw was Bryce Huff. He's third in the depth chart. He's one of the most productive pass rushers this team has. And to put him at third, that means there's a lot of talent in front of him. So I'm excited to see these guys get out there and go. You know, talk about Carl Lawson. He's a guy, came off the injury last year, wasn't quite the same. Now he's confident, and he's going to have a very productive season. Hopefully he gets back to where he was before the injury.
Yeah, the defensive line is loaded, but that's where that new look is, and we continue to stress that here in camp, is that Al Woods coming from the 3-4. He feels freed up, thinks he'll be able to take advantage of his physical skill set in this scheme. Quentin Jefferson was his teammate last year in Seattle. He comes over as well. And then we continue to talk about Solomon Thomas is a guy who we probably don't give enough pub. I mean, he's one of those key rotational guys because he just has got a great motor, right? You know Solomon Thomas, what he's going to give you with each and every rep. And then you got those two guys with the flexibility, and John Franklin Myers, who can flip inside, and then Michael Clemens, of course, the big Michael Clemens.
Look, EC, I know you didn't play defensive line, but just in your experience playing on different defenses throughout your career, when you have the ability to rotate players and keep guys fresh, so to EA's point, Solomon Thomas can go at max effort 100% of the snaps that he takes, even if it's a lesser amount. What changes as a defense, and how much of a benefit is that from a player's perspective?
Oh, it's a big benefit for the defense because you have fresh legs out there all the time, and it gets competitive with that defensive line. They want every time you go out on the field, you know that you have to show improve and show that you deserve to be out there. So you want to go out there and be productive. You want to go out there and make plays. And for a guy like me playing defensive back, having those fresh legs come in on third down when you're tired and the drive gets long, having a fresh guy come off the sideline and go get a sack is one of the best feelings that you can feel in coverage.
Look, EC, we appreciate your time here on Training Camp Live.
It wasn't long enough, man. You gotta come back soon.
Look, the weather's great. We appreciate you bringing the great weather. We appreciate you staying with us on set. Next time, we're going to extend the segment. But we were talking about the depth chart before. Jamien Sherwood, the third linebacker on the first initial depth chart for the New York Jets. For more on him, here's Caroline Hendershot.
Now, for those who don't remember, Jamien Sherwood actually tore his Achilles week 1 of 2021. So when I spoke with him yesterday about what last season was like and what this offseason was like, he said this offseason was the first one that he could really attack the training like he wanted to and attack learning the playbook like he wanted to. It was his full offseason without having to worry about rehabbing, and he actually weighed in at 230 pounds this season, compared to last year where he was only 212. So there's been a lot of work in the weight room for Jamien Sherwood. And when I spoke to CJ Mosley earlier in the week, he said he is poised for a breakout season this year because he's one of the hardest working men on the defense, and he's one of the smartest on the defense. As far as what Sherwood wants to accomplish this season, he said that it's just plain and simple. He wants to play at the pace and level of C.J. Mosley and Quincy Williams, and he just wants that confidence from the playbook and the weight room to come out on the field.
Awesome, Caroline. Great stuff on Jamie Sherwood. And I'm really excited to see what the Florham Park Strangler can do, assuming he's going to play on Thursday. We don't know exactly who will and who won't. Robert Saleh said a lot of the young guys will. Jamie Sherwood in the thick of a competition for that third linebacker spot. And I think it's really impressive. You can see the difference in his body. But how about these numbers? Just think about the inexperience for that third linebacker spot. Sherwood, who probably has the most experience, took 25 snaps on defense last season. That's only 2% of the entire defensive snaps over the course of the year, and 67% of special team snaps. So Sherwood definitely a special team stalwart for the Jets. That might change in a couple weeks.
Yeah, it's interesting, too, because for a while there, I think a lot of people maybe externally were thinking Quan Alexander's still out there, remains on the street, and maybe he's a training camp signing. Well, we know that's not going to happen because Quan Alexander just signed with
the Pittsburgh Steelers.
There you go. So we know Quan's not coming back, and that spot is definitely out there for the taking for Sherwood. And Caroline's right. Mosley pointed him out at the beginning of camp. I keep on coming back to 5'3", Zaire Barnes. He's one of the guys that I'm targeting Thursday night to watch, because early on in camp, he's shown me a good feel for the game. He's very instinctive, and he's found a way to get around the ball.
And I think even perhaps more important than that, it doesn't seem like, from our perspective, like he's on the wrong end of a lot of big plays, if any. So it seems to us, with the untrained linebacker eye, that he's doing a good job learning.
And then in fairness, when you're operating with the threes, I mean, you want a guy like Zaire Barnes to stand out. And for me, he has. Now, it's interesting when we talk about Sherwood in that third linebacker spot, how many times are the Jets going to be lining up with the three linebackers? I guess that's going to be dictated by offensive personnel. If the Bills come out week one and they're running two tight ends a lot, you're going to see a lot of Sherwood. If they're coming out and they're running a lot of 11 personnel, Michael Carter II is going to be on the field all the time.
Because we've often talked about it. Your base is actually nickel.
Yes.
And for the Jets, that's definitely the case. We'll actually see what happens.
And the Jets' nickel defense screens, is it the best in the National Football League? That would be my argument. I would counter anybody and say, who has three better cornerbacks on the outside and inside than Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed, and Michael Carter II?
I totally agree with that. And also the other guys in the mix for that third linebacker spot, Hamza Nasruddin, drafted the same year as Jamie and Sherwood. Both of those guys, collegiate safeties, transitioning to linebacker. Chaz Surratt, the UNC third-round pick from a couple years ago. There are definitely some other names to watch, but the Jets first suit up in the Hall of Fame game against the Cleveland Browns, which is crazy to say it's just a couple days away. You got to tune in Thursday, 8 p.m. NBC. And one of the positions that I'm looking forward to see who plays Thursday night, and really beyond that, is center. Because we've talked about it before. Connor McGovern, Wes Schweitzer, Joe Tippmann seem to be the three guys in the mix. Listening to Robert Saleh talk yesterday, I don't know if I'm reading into this too much. Do you feel like it sounds like Tippmann's going through his rookie ups and downs, and it seems like it could be Connor McGovern's or Wes Schweitzer's job?
I think it's a big-time learning curve. And throughout camp early, what we've seen is that Connor McGovern's been the guy taking first-team reps throughout up until yesterday. Wes Schweitzer getting some snaps at center. The other guy in there, Tristan Colon, he also can play the center position. I do think the Jets, again, for Tippmann, the next couple of weeks going to be very important. Obviously, getting those game reps, and we'll see, how well he can develop. Because I thought there were a couple times we saw him matched up with the aforementioned Al Woods in one-on-one drills. He really held up very well. Didn't you think so?
I definitely think so. And I think it's interesting because Joe Tippmann is very athletic for his 6'6" size. But the body differential between Connor McGovern, Wes Schweitzer, and Joe Tippmann, they're all very different. Wes Schweitzer is so broad and so big, and McGovern's a more slender, agile center. And, in the previous Mike LaFleur system, you could see why you wanted somebody like Connor McGovern to pull, the agile type guy. In this offense, I really don't know if there is a benefit to having one style or another, but I definitely think that McGovern and Schweitzer are in the thick of a competition in terms of the veterans. It's interesting because Schweitzer has taken 430 snaps at center in 80 career games in his career. 348 of those 430 snaps came last season for the Commanders. So
yeah.
McGovern is clearly the most experienced.
The other thing that we talked to Saleh about after practice yesterday is I asked him about, hey, how challenging is it for the defensive line when you have a guy like Rodgers who's coming up there and changing his cadence and also changing his counts all the time. And he was quick to point out, yeah, not only is it challenging for the defensive line, but it's challenging for the offensive line. So there are a lot of dynamics in play here if you are a rookie center. I mean, because this Aaron Rodgers system with Nathaniel Hackett, of course, Nathaniel Hackett running it, but with Rodgers' touches on it, I mean, you got to know a lot of intricacies.
I think it's so fun to watch Aaron Rodgers operate his cadence because last practice, which was yesterday, the offense was backed up at the 2-yard line. Yep. Rodgers walks up there. He gets the defense to jump on the first play, and they get a free play out of it. And the offense couldn't convert or they couldn't capitalize on that. But you definitely see how challenging it is. And that'll only help, it feels like, the Jets' defensive line when they're going up against some of the elite quarterbacks that starts weeks 1 to 4, weeks 1 to 6 in their schedule.
Yeah, and everybody has said it, who's come out, who's played in between the white lines before. But the Jets' defense is not going to face a better quarterback than Aaron Rodgers. I mean, yeah, you say Patrick Mahomes or whatnot, but I mean, Aaron Rodgers is a top 5 quarterback in the National Football League right now, and you could make the argument that when it's all said and done, he's top 5 all time.
I think what's interesting about this offensive line, too, is the interior is so situated and the rest is in flux. What do you want to see for, let's say, the remainder of training camp, which, by the way, feels like we've been here forever and they're still forever remaining because of the extended camp? Just what do you want to see from this group, let's say, 2 weeks from now when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers come to town?
Well, the guy I'm watching for the Jets, as far as those first stringers are concerned, is that you're hoping that Dwayne Brown gets back on the practice field within a couple weeks, right? So he's ready to go in week 1. You want the continuity. The one thing that I think the Jets have been encouraged about over the last couple practices was the work in the run game, okay? Because they were getting some push against a very good defensive line. Again, this offensive line is going to benefit from going against arguably the best defensive line in football. It's just getting on the same page and then getting everybody in place, because when you started training camp, you knew that Langston Tomlinson was your left guard and AVT was your right guard, but maybe some uncertainty there with battles throughout the line.
And it's going to be important for that guy right there on your screen, Aaron Rodgers, number 8, to start to develop a trust and a chemistry with his offensive line. And it's crazy to say, but Jets football is almost here, and it's time to lock in your season tickets. Be at MetLife Stadium for the biggest games of the year when the Jets host the Chiefs, Eagles, Bills, Chargers, and more. Secure your seats now at nyjets.com. All right, we saw Method Man earlier. We had Eric Coleman on set. Now we welcome MK Fray in the fold here in Training Camp Live, presented by Honda.
I mean, I don't know if I'm as special as them, but I'm here anyway. You know what I'm saying?
We think you're as special as them.
No, stop flirting with me. Stop flirting.
Hey, drop your saying.
Am I saying?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, dude, I know.
Well, he said it. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
You know the way. We don't play. It's your boy MK Fray, and today I'm here.
He's here.
I don't know how to end it, but I'm here.
MK Fray. Hey, are you going to go talk to Method Man later?
I think I am, yeah. I think I'm going to
you better.
later. We're going to have a little conversation, 100%.
Yeah.
Cool.
So for fans who are watching this who don't know what you've been doing out here at practice, give it a little sneak peek or a little overview of what you've been doing. Yeah, a little teaser.
I've just been doing some content, of course, for the New York Jets. We're going around speaking to some of the players. We're doing some challenges. You know what I'm saying? We've done some darts challenge. I can't say too much. I don't want to say too much, but I've been speaking to them, looking at the tactics, doing some BTS behind the scenes, looking at their training, their tactics, and it's been an amazing experience. I didn't know too much about NFL before I got here, but now I've been here and actually watching them. It's been an amazing experience.
So who were you playing darts with? I saw the dartboard out yesterday.
Pardon, sorry?
You had the dartboard.
Yeah, we had the dartboard out. We had the dartboard out. But
yeah.
I've done stuff with McCole Hardman.
Okay.
McCole Hardman. Tyler Compton, is it?
Yeah.
I remember the names. I remember the names. So I met with a couple of the players, but you have to wait for the content to see who I've actually done stuff with.
Okay. Something that EA and I were talking
I just
about.
want a sneak peek.
Yeah.
I know, you're going to see. You're going to see. I'm going to send you an unlisted link. No worry.
Oh, yeah, we appreciate that. So something that we were talking about, pub life overseas, it's
Oh,
huge.
Yes.
Here, not so much. But if you had to bring one of the guys that you've met
Yeah.
and you bring him back to the UK, you just want to have a pint with him, who are you choosing?
You know what?
Is this player only?
Well,
Or are we including employees?
Yeah, I mean,
Ooh,
it's definitely
you
us.
guys could come.
you know?
But I'm going to bring a player with us as well. And I'm going to go
All
with
right.
who had the most vibes for me, the most energy with me, because I have a lot of energy. I don't know if you guys can see, but I think the person that replicated that the most was McCall Hardman.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely.
He's got a lot of vibes with him, and in this challenge, he actually did very well.
You
as
got
well.
you got a nice chain.
Oh,
McCall definitely got a nice chain. Was he
his one's
wearing
a
it?
little bit better. I've seen it. He wasn't wearing it on the day
Okay.
that he showed me, but I think his might be a little bit better than mine.
What do you think about sauces?
Sauces?
Yeah.
Are we talking about Sauce Gardner? Are we talking about sauces? What are we talking
No,
about?
we're talking about Sauce Gardner.
Oh, we're talking about Sauce
His
Gardner.
chain. And did you see the chain that he gave
I've
Aaron Rodgers,
seen
the
this-
quarterback?
Yes, of course. I've seen it. I've seen it. I saw his big sauce bottle. I've also seen the little one. Like, he's serious. He's serious. And even watching him train as well. I didn't know too much about him before I came down here, but seeing how tall he is as well, I was looking up like this. I was like, yeah, he's too tall for this game. So,
What's been like the biggest thing that's stood out to you? As you just said that you didn't know a ton about football, or really when you came over here after being here for the past couple days. What are some things that you're just like, wow, I didn't even think about that.
you know, I think it's how much goes into the trainer. I think in UK we don't know enough about NFL. We just see it as you got to run, you got to catch the ball, and you got to hit the player that's got the ball, hurt them. But when I've actually been out here, I've seen the training, the tactics they do, how they segregate the defense, the attackers. They put everyone in different positions and do different training sessions for each of the different positions, and just seeing how much goes into the tactics for the game. And I think that's given me a real understanding of how much goes into it and how much the trainers help the players.
All right, I know you are a big football fan.
Yeah, football, soccer? What are we talking about now, bro?
Yeah,
We in soccer?
yeah. Arsenal. You know what I'm saying?
That's my friend. That's my friend. I knew I liked him. I knew I liked him.
So I gotta
He
ask
doesn't
you.
know what he's saying.
So I gotta ask you.
Ask me.
Who's the Aaron Rodgers on Arsenal?
Oh, the Aaron Rodgers at Arsenal.
Yeah.
See now, I don't know, because I feel like our Aaron Rodgers might have been sold by now. I'm talking like a legend that's been there for a long time. I don't know who would have been the longest there right now, you know?
What about back in the day?
Back in the day,
Yeah.
I would say it would have to have been... I might say Mikel Arteta, you know, because Mikel Arteta is now the manager of Arsenal.
Oh, yeah?
And he was one of the icons that stayed with the team for so long. He was with the oldest team, and with the new young players coming through, he was still at the team then as well. So I'm going to have to say Mikel Arteta, now our manager as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I trust your opinion.
Yeah. I might be wrong. Arsenal fans don't get at me, but that's my opinion.
Okay,
anyway.
so for how long are you here for? Is today your last day?
Today's my last day.
Oh,
unfortunately,
man.
I want to come back, though, man. I love it down there. I don't want to really go back to London.
Wait,
but-
is it
Yo,
weird?
are we gonna be in any of the YouTube videos?
Bro, you
Come
can't
on
be- I'm
now.
vlogging, bro.
Yeah,
Don't
let's
worry, you're going
go.
to be in there. You're going to be in there.
Is it weird? Well, I mean, I feel like my two questions have been involving beer, but is
You
it
can let me
weird?
know.
Look, here you got to be 21
Yep.
to enjoy a cold beverage.
I know.
You're 20, aren't
I'm
you?
20 years old. I'm
Is that
21 in
weird
2
to
months.
be legal back home and then come here and
It
someone's
is.
like, you can't have a beer?
It is. I mean, I'm not too much of a beer drinker anyway, but yeah, it's weird.
Or any liquor.
Yeah, I know any liquor, any alcohol I can't really have. But yeah, in London, obviously, as you know, it's 18. Here it's 21. But I understand it's probably better that way, to be honest. I think America are probably doing it right. because
all right.
Okay, gassing us up. I love
I'm just saying, I like America.
Listen, I loved what you did there in Minneapolis, going on the street
yes.
and asking people so many
Some trick questions,
questions. You
yeah.
got any trick questions for us today?
Uh-oh. I could ask
Let's do
a question that I did in the video and see what you...
Okay.
All right, you guys ready?
All right,
You're
let's
in
go.
this as
Let's
well.
go.
All right, cool. What can you see in water that doesn't get wet?
Yourself.
Not quite,
Like a
'cause you're not in the
reflection?
water.
What can you see?
There you go. Shake my hand, my friend. You're a
Wow.
reflection. You know what?
Wow.
I had to go through 3 different people and ask that question a good couple times before someone got that right.
Yeah.
So you're right with that one. Can I think of another one? All right, cool. Oh, I can't think
Well,
of one quick
hey,
enough.
you can let us know off camera.
Yeah, we'll talk off camera.
Because
Yeah, we
unfortunately, that's
definitely
all
will.
the time we have with
Okay.
MK Fray. But we appreciate you. I'm going to
Appreciate
find
you
you.
guys.
I want you to ask me some hard-hitting questions.
Don't worry, I'm
after.
coming for you. As soon as you finish this, I'm going to find you.
All right.
Don't
Yeah,
worry.
that's fine. I want to be on YouTube, no doubt about that.
We're gonna vlog together,
And,
we're gonna
and
vlog.
I'm coming to the UK. You're going to take me to an Arsenal game.
I'm going to
How
take you
about
to an
that?
Arsenal game, and I'm going to take you
us.
to the pub. Don't worry about that.
yeah,
You,
yeah,
take him to you just take us to both. That's fine.
We'll go to both. Don't you worry.
All right, going back to the Jets. You know, Caroline, I want to know more about Tony Adams because he's somebody that the Jets fans have been seeing a lot on Twitter, but I don't think they know enough about him yet.
Yes, Ethan, you're right. He's been making a big name for himself this training camp with all the interceptions he's had already. And Coach Saleh spoke about him at the podium the other day, and he said Tony Adams checks all the boxes. And while a lot of players in the NFL check a lot of the boxes. No one checks them quite like Tony Adams' mental makeup and everything that he does when it goes into the process. Coach Saleh said as long as he kind of keeps that same attitude, he'll be all right. As for TA, who's Tony Adams, as what the team likes to call him, TA, he said it's simple for him. He keeps that same undrafted free agent mindset with him. He does his job every day. He focuses on the details, and he keeps it simple. He says sometimes players have a tendency to overcomplicate it, but it's just playing that same game that he's loved since he was a kid for him, and he just goes out there, and in his words, not mine, he's a dog.
In his words, not mine, Caroline. We appreciate your time. Tony Adams, that's somebody that I'm really excited to see Thursday night. Look, we have a loaded show. We had MK Fray. We had Eric Coleman. Method Man somewhere on the field. Now we welcome in Neil Reynolds. How you doing? Nice to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Nice to meet you.
Great seeing you. So this is training camp number 5 for you?
Stop number 5.
Now, how
After
many
tonight, this is halfway. We're halfway.
Oh, so you're doing the 10 and all.
Yeah, we're doing 10. I think we're going to cover about 12 states, 10 in 12 days. Yes, we've done Miami, Jacksonville, Philadelphia, Baltimore here.
Okay.
Then we head to Pittsburgh, Minnesota, Kansas City, Chicago, San Francisco. Yeah, you got it.
Wow, that was
I know where I'm
impressive.
going.
Yeah.
All right, well, we got to welcome you across the pond over here in the United States. But I don't know if Jets fans are going to be too happy with you because I saw your pre-training camp rankings, and you had the Miami Dolphins number 5, the Buffalo Bills number 6, and the Jets number 10.
Top 10.
Yeah, top 10, but you're in the division.
Let's spin this around. Let's make it a positive. I mean, I think that division's just incredible, isn't it now? I think those teams have all loaded up. You know, a division where everyone only spoke about the Patriots for 2 decades, and there you just mentioned the 3 other teams. So, okay, that's kind of an apology. It's top 10. I mean, I do believe. I do like
I just
this.
had to have
I
a
do
little
like
fun
this
with it.
team.
Wait.
This is a playoff team.
I think I see an out for you here. This
Go on,
was a
help me out.
pre-training camp.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah, now they're 5.
Well,
yeah.
I was gonna say, Jalen Ramsey now undergoes significant knee surgery for the Miami Dolphins. Does that change anything in your perspective in terms of the complexity?
Yeah, because the defense was an issue for the Dolphins last year, and I still have some concerns there about Tua, and I have no concerns about number 8 here. So, you know, we know what Aaron Rodgers can do. I think the Jets are a playoff team. I think they're a high-character team. Got to meet a lot of the players last year. I was doing a weekly interview for the Jets from the UK. They're just a really good bunch of guys, and I think that actually will translate to a lot of wins this year.
Do you think the acquisition of Rodgers, a future first ballot Hall of Famer, will increase Jets fandom in the UK?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
100%. If you're going to be asking, obviously your hardcore fans are going to have their certain team, but if you're going to ask somebody who's kind of a casual fan who might drift from team to team to name 5 current NFL players, they'll give you Mahomes. They would have given you Brady all day long, and now they would give you Aaron Rodgers. They would know Aaron Rodgers. So I think it's a great story. To see him go from a small town in Green Bay to one of the biggest cities, if not the biggest and bustling in the whole world. So, yeah, it's going to make more. There's a good base of Jets fans in the UK. And I think that number's going to grow this year. And it helps that he's going to help the team win. Winning creates fans.
Absolutely. When you take a look at this Jets team, what is your biggest question that maybe you're looking at out here when you're watching the team practice?
So I'd love to see, I just want to see Breece Hall come back. And how does he look the same when he comes back? Because other than that, if you look at this whole team, defense is always aggressive and lively, and Coach Saleh's always going to get them ready. I love the mix of the young receiver and some of the players that Aaron's worked with before in Allen Lazard, Randall Cobb. I think the biggest question mark was, how much was Zach Wilson going to grow this year if it was going to be Zach? And now it's Aaron Rodgers. I don't have too many questions. That's why I think this is a top 10 team. I think this is a playoff team. It's really exciting.
It really is exciting. The Jets on Sunday had Dalvin Cook out here. Breece Hall is ahead of schedule as far as his recovery is concerned. Everybody really happy. Hit 23 miles per hour on the GPS. You got Michael Carter, Zonovan Bam Knight out here. Also drafted Israel Abanikanda. What do you think about a potential fit with Cook?
So I think Dalvin Cook can still play at a really high level. And I think the NFL today is, you can never have too many. I feel like, last year I just remember when we were covering the games on Sky Sports, there was a lot of conversations about, is it Ezekiel Elliott, is it Tony Pollard? And actually, you really needed both if you were Dallas last year. Now they've obviously made that shift. So I think if you can add a good player, especially late in the summer, I think that would make a difference. I think it's especially that position as well. I think there's carries to be shared around. So, I think they're not building a super team. And I don't want to go back to the Eagles under Chip Kelly or anything like that, but they're certainly building a very, very talented team with some star players. And I guess the key is they're a good team as well. And I think Dalvin Cook would be a great addition.
Yeah, I don't want to go down a bad road here, but what Sean Payton said the other day about, let's just talk about what he said about Washington and Hard Knocks. This is a totally different team. Where the Jets are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, maybe the addition of Dalvin Cook might bump up the Jets a couple spots in Neil Reynolds' ranking.
I do think the character thing is a huge thing in the NFL, and it was a real privilege to spend a lot of time with the players last year. So every Monday I'd get on a call with them, and bear in mind I'm getting on the Zoom with them after they've either won or lost. It was the same. They were classy from start to finish. They were generous with their time. Yeah, they had great stories, and the way they told their stories. And I've done a lot of interviews. I've interviewed all the big names in the NFL, and as a team, I said this to Coach Saleh when I spoke to him in the offseason. I said, you've got a really high character group. I don't know exactly how that translates on Sundays, but it must mean something when you're down by 10 and you've got to dig deep and turn to the man next to you. The stars are what we in the media get excited about. We pay attention to. But yeah, the character's going to carry this team along.
And that is the perfect way to wrap up Training Camp Live, presented by Honda. Neil Reynolds, we appreciate your time here.
Thank you for having me.
Enjoy the rest of your trip.
I'm on the road.
And for those watching at home, make sure to tune in Thursday night when the Jets travel to Canton, Ohio to take on the Browns. We'll be live for Pregame Central. It's crazy to say, but it's true. It's the first one of the year. You don't want to miss it, so make sure to tune in.